Hi, in this video we're going to look at using a weapon within your game. The aim of this video is to show you how to, one, detect whether or not you're colliding with a weapon to pick it up. Secondly, we're going to allow the player to carry the weapon and it to track the movement and flip with the player. And then thirdly, to limit the amount of bullets that are shot from the weapon at any given time. So you can see on screen that I've got my room displayed and I've got my object dragged into a new layer, okay, and I've called this layer collectibles. I'm going to use this layer to put all the collectible objects within my game in this layer. So things like the parts for the ship that you need to collect, maybe any power-ups or whatever. So this layer is going to be used specifically for all the collectible objects within the game. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is, firstly I'll just demonstrate that at the moment nothing happens when I actually sort of walk past the gun. So the idea is that when I collide with this object, this gun is attached to the player and then it flips and rotates as I move around the screen. So the first thing I need to do is to set some variables in my player object. So I'm just going to open up my OBJ player and I'm going to go into my create event. I'm going to add two variables to the bottom of this code. Okay, I'm just going to add a comment in here, and that is going to just say that well, it's going to use variables that we're going to use within the game for the gun collection. So collect gun. And I'm just going to copy in some code and I will explain what it does, okay, rather than me typing it all the time. So this essentially is two variables. The first variable is hasGun, and what that variable is doing is saying it's recording whether or not we're holding the gun at all, and the second line of code here, the gun instance equals no one. What that's saying is the gun is currently linked to no object in the game. Okay, so those are two variables that we're going to need to help us code the gun. So you can see that I also have an OBJ gun object here, and what we're going to do, we're going to set up a collision event which looks at whether or not we're colliding with the gun. So we're going to create a new event, and this time it's going to be a collision event with the object of gun. I'm going to copy the code in just so you can see the code, and I'm going to explain what this code does. So the first piece of this code tells the player object that it now holds the gun. So the variable that we created in the create event, hasGun equals false, is now set to true. Okay. The second thing it does, it in gun instance, okay, which is this one here, okay, this variable here, is going to set the owner of the gun, or the object that it's attached to a new to our player. Okay, so it's going to be set to the instance create layer. So on the same layer as our player, it's going to create at the X and the Y on our layer, and it's going to create a new object called OBJ gun held. The reason why I've got this gun, okay, is because the other gun is going to be destroyed, because obviously I want to remove it from the game. And then that's what this line of code does here. So with other, instance destroy. So that's what this code does. So picks up the gun, sets the variable to true, creates the instance of the gun using the object OBJ gun held, which is another gun object you can see listed over on the right hand side, and then destroy the other gun. So with the other, because obviously we're dealing in the player script here, so with the other object, which is going to be the gun, then instance destroy. If you didn't put with other, you would destroy the player and not the gun. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to add the code that's going to stick the gun to the player and flip the gun horizontally when we move left or right. So I'm going to go into the player object, and I'm going to go into the step event of the player, and I'm going to enter the code at the bottom of the step event. So again, I'll paste the code in and I'll explain what it does. So this first piece here checks to see if the player has the gun. Okay, so is the gun there? If it exists, and does the player have the gun? Okay, so that's the first thing it checks. Checks for both of those things to be true. So if the player has the gun and the instance of the gun exists, then it's going to do the following. So the first thing it's going to do is to flip the gun. Okay, so if the player has the gun, it's going to flip the gun to match the player's facing direction. So the gun instance, its X scale image is going to match the image X scale of our player. Okay. It's then going to adjust the offset. So if the image X scale is equal to 1, so if the player is facing right, then it's going to set these offsets. So it's going to put the gun instance is X coordinate plus 30 to the player and the Y plus 10 to the player. That's from the origin of the sprite. So that's that dot that was in the center of the sprite. So if I just open up the player object just to show you what I mean. So if I open up my player, if I can find it, there it is. If I open up my player, that's the origin. Okay, so it'll add it 30 this way, 10 down. So I'm trying to get the gun to be held in the hand. Okay, so that's that piece of code. Let's go back to the player object. There we go. Otherwise, if we're facing left, okay, it's going to be facing minus 30 and plus 10. So it's going to be facing the other direction, same offsets, but obviously facing the other direction. So let's go ahead now, see if this works. So press play. And I collect the gun, and now you can see that when I turn, okay, the gun follows with me. There is a slight issue in the fact that the gun is behind my arm. So there's a simple command we can use to sort this problem out. So you're going to go into the, I'm going to go into the object gun held, and I'm going to add a create event. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the depth of my gun to minus 10. So this is the code I'm going to use. I'm going to set the depth, which is a built-in command, to minus 10. So what that does, that brings the gun forward. So negative depth would bring the weapon forward, or the object forward. A positive would set it behind. So I'll demonstrate that is now working. So when I collect the gun, you can now see that it's in front of my character and not behind the hands. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then, now we've got the gun being held and moving in the different directions, is to fire the gun. So in order to do that, you can see on the screen here I've got the sprite for my gun, and you can see that the origin of my gun is here, because that's where I wanted it held. So I want the bullets to fire from the tip of the gun. So what I need to do is to work out an offset, because at the moment all my bullets will fire from the origin point here, and I don't want that. I want them to fire from here. So we're going to create two variables in the hasGun object, obj gun held, to set the offsets of the muzzle. And what we'll do, we'll set them at 0, 0 for now, and then as we finish the code, we'll go in and change those to fine tune where the weapon fires from. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go into my obj gun held, and I'm going to set two more variables in the create object. So those are the offset of the gun tip relative to the gun sprite origin. So that's what I just explained to you. I'm going to set these to 0, 0 for now, and then we will look at the effects of changing those. So the muzzle X position was how far forward the muzzle is when facing right, and the muzzle Y is the vertical offset, so how much it needs to come up or down. So those are the two variables that we need to create. The rest of the code we're going to write is going to be in the player object. So I'm going to go back into my OBJ player, and now I'm going to paste in the code for the firing of the gun, and then I'll explain how that code is working. Okay, so let's just paste in the code for the firing of the bullet. So this code checks to see if the player, if I can just find the line, there we go. This code checks to see if the player has the gun and the shift key has been pressed on the keyboard. Okay, this next line, this if statement, okay, this checks to see if a bullet already exists. If a bullet doesn't exist, sorry, and if the bullet doesn't exist, then it creates the bullet at the offset for the muzzle X and the muzzle Y. So it creates the bullet called OBJ bullet, which you can see that I've created in my objects. So it stores that in the variable MX and MY. Okay. It then creates the bullet at the muzzle position. Okay. At MX, MY, the same layer as the player, on the player layer, OBJ bullet, and then obviously this will flip the bullet depending on the direction. So if it's facing right, then it sets it with the direction of 0, which is to the right. If it's left, it flips it, it sends it the other way, which is left, 180 degrees. And obviously it scales the bullet, so it's not firing backwards, because obviously you can see from the bullet object itself that it has a shape, so we want it flipped around when we fire. If it was a round bullet, we would need to do that, but because it's got a shape on it, we need to make sure that it's facing the right way when we fire the bullet. So there's only one bullet allowed in the room at any one time. Now there's going to be a problem when I run this, in the fact that I can fire. So I got my gun and I fired. Okay, you can see that the bullet's come out. The bullet has come out of this part of the gun now, so we've still got some work to do on that. The bullet has now left the room, but I can't fire another bullet, and that's because I haven't told GameMaker what to do with the bullet. So that bullet is still going. It's still being processed. So what we need to do is tell GameMaker that when the bullet leaves the room, then it needs to destroy itself. So we'll go and do that now. So in the bullets create event, we need to set a few variables, because the first thing we need to do is to store the direction in which the player is facing. So because we need to flip the bullet sprite when it fires, and we need to set the movement direction, and we also need to set how fast the bullet travels. So this is storing the direction based on the player when the bullet was created. Okay, this flips the bullet to match the direction, the bullet sprite to match the direction of the facing, and then this is setting the speed of the direction and speed of the bullet. So this is setting it to go right if we're facing 1, which is right. Otherwise we're facing left, which is 180 degrees, which is moving left. And the bullet speed is set to 14. We're going to add another event, and we're going to add a step event, because we need to check when the bullet leaves the room. So we're going to add some code in here. This is going to destroy the bullet if it leaves the room. Okay, so what this does is checks to see if it's outside of the room on the left, outside of the room on the right, so if it's greater than the room width, if it's below the if it's above the top of the room or below the room, then it's going to destroy the instance. So let's give that a go and see how that works. So I can collect the gun, I've shot, and now I can only shoot once the instance is outside of the room. Bit different when I shoot this way, because obviously the bullet is still travelling. I can't shoot until the bullet has left the room. Another problem we're going to sort out now is the fact that I can shoot through objects, and I don't want that to happen, so we're going to have a little look at that. So what I want to do then is to set up a collision event, so that if the bullet hits any object, it's going to be destroyed. And that's going to be the case whether it hits the enemy, whether it hits a wall, whether it hits a platform, or the rubble that I've got in my game. So I'm just going to paste this line of code in. Okay, and we've used this line of code before. So if the bullet touches any solid object, destroy it. So if where the bullet currently is, it collides with anything, then it's going to destroy it. So let's test that and see if that works. Okay, let's pick up the gun. Okay, let's shoot. Okay, so it's currently colliding with the gun, so that's not worked. So let's have a little look at that and see how we can fix that problem. So let's go back and take a look at that code. Okay, so what I want to do is to add an exception in here to say that if it's colliding with the gun, to ignore that, because obviously it's firing through the gun. So I'm just going to add that in, so it's checking to see if it's not hitting the OBJ gun held. So and let's bring that down there and that down there, so our code looks correct. Right, hopefully. No. Okay, what have I got wrong here then? Okay, see the problem? The problem here is I've got an extra bracket there, so we'll get rid of that. Try it again. Okay, let's try that now. So if I press the shift key, okay, you can see now that whatever I hit, okay, the bullet is destroyed. So that's exactly what we want. So that is the end of this video, which deals with how to have a collectible object in the game, a gun, a weapon. You can apply that to any weapon you'd like. It also shows you how to X-scale the weapon with player movement, how to shoot a bullet, and how to get the bullet to destroy itself when it hits an object, and also how to prevent multiple firing of bullets at any one time. So I'll see you in the next video.